seems a bit silly to start to talk after this. So it's beautiful what is given, and it's great when you allow yourself to deeply dive into it and let yourself be completely taken over by it. So don't let me stop you, just keep on going wherever you find yourself. Lovely. So the one thing that comes up for the talk of Joel that we're going to listen to is a very specific part that I referred to just before the meditation, which is the part of the promised land. The promised land. If you read Exodus, and Joel shares this too in the talk, so you will hear more about it, but Moses was actually successful in bringing, say, the crowd to the promised land, even though it was misinterpreted in the Bible as if he failed in his mission, which is not true, because he did whatever he could do. So the ones that were with him still needed to, say, make the decision for themselves to enter the promised land. Like nobody can do that for you. And this is specifically where Joel is talking about. So it's like you can have your master, you can have your Joel, you can have your Jesus, you can have your master teacher or whoever. You can have your master, but he's not going to bring you in the promised land. He is going to bring you to the gate, and you open the door, you knock, and the door will be opened. It's like there's still an action from you, like it has to be completely voluntary, otherwise it would miss its goal. You cannot be forced into the promised land. No, that's a voluntary, say, desire, decision, whatever you want to call that. You can resist it as long as you want. Like you cannot enter into it as long as you want. But in the end, it is your decision, you could say, if you see it that way. So that's lovely that Joel shares this, because it's actually really helpful. So then another thing that came to me in sharing this is the problem, so to speak, or the paradox, you could say, like the problem of the invisibility. Because maybe that's the last frontier, so to speak. The last frontier is thinking it isn't invisible. So you're still focusing on, for instance, how it looks, or how you behave, or how everything seems to be. Like you haven't say a check of all the form aspects of yourself, and think if that is all right, I can legitimately enter into the promised land, as if that has something to do with it. So the thing of invisibility is so amazing, because you cannot see, when you look at me, you cannot see when I enter the promised land. Like heaven as being a state of mind, a state of full realization of say, the I-ness of me, is invisible. It is, you cannot see that. You cannot see when that happens, and it happens. So this is something that, like I said, it can be the last frontier, in the sense of in the end, you will give up any reference to form in order to discover for yourself if you literally entered the promised land or not. Thinking that if you think in terms of form, or of levels of happiness, or ideas of well-being, of wealth or health, or you know what, like if you use that as a checklist for your readiness to enter into the promised land, you can be here for a long time. It has nothing to do with it. So even the part of the transition is not visible. And you're really not going to like that. You're really not going to like that in your awakening, because what you're looking for is reference points and common things that you recognize as being part of the false you that you appear to be, you know, like the things that have nothing to do with your true being, the center of your being, the I of your being. So this is something that Joel touches on too in this talk, but I thought I say shed some light on it, because as an almost like as a psychological temptation that you have to look for what you know, to look for the recognizable, to look for, oh, when I'm that happy, then I probably entered into the promised land, then I probably entered into heaven, or who knows, this or that. Like, or if I do this right with a certain outcome, then I can do this. Like in fact, all the barriers that you put up for yourself not to enter into heaven. So this is great. So this is a real mystical I talk, because Joel talks about the I almost continuously in this talk. You will recognize that. So we start our listening to Joel in about, it's like after 20 minutes or so of the talk, because the middle section is also very interesting. So I don't want to miss out on that, to share that. But you can always listen to the whole talk, of course. It's available on YouTube. So now I forgot the title of the... I really don't know anymore, but we'll see when I start the video. Yeah, let's take some time to listen to Joel. That would be lovely. So I'm going to set that up for now. And here there is a French subtitle, so that is nice for the ones that use it. Okay, so I should stop this. Oh yeah, so the talk has the name On the Mystical Path.
United yourself with each other, with each of us. All that God is and has is now permeating your consciousness as you realize I and my Father are one. All that has ever imparted itself to the spiritual saints and seers of all ages is now imparting itself to you, for we are all united in this one consciousness. We are all being fed by the same spiritual light. We are all drinking of the same spiritual fountain of water, eating the same spiritual meat, the same spiritual bread. We are all drinking the same spiritual wine, for we are being fed from within. Now you will understand. Listen, listen. I, and repeat that word within yourself. I have meat the world knows not of. I can give you water. When you drink of it, you will never thirst again. This I that you have declared, I have meat the world knows not of. I have hidden manna. In my communion with my source, I now realize that I am united with God. I am united with the source of all good. Therefore, I have received all that the Father has given me. I have 12 baskets full to share. The Father's love I have. The Father's wisdom I have. The Father's infinite substance I have. The Father's divine grace I have. I have meat the world knows not of. I have hidden manna. In this inner communion only are you being spiritually fed, spiritually sated, satisfied, completed, perfected. Only in this inner communion with the Father do you receive divine grace. Only because you have left your humanhood outside and you have just declared the I of your being, I, me, myself, I and my Father are one. In this oneness, I recognize my oneness with my spiritual brothers and sisters universally. I realize that they too are fed and satisfied from this same source. I recognize that they too are of the household of God. I realize now why no weapon that is formed against them shall prosper. This never was addressed to the human race. There have been many weapons that have been used destructively against the human race. And as long as there is a human race, there will be. But I see now that no weapon that is ever formed against the Christ can prosper. No weapon that is ever formed against the I that I am can prosper. Why? Because I am hid with Christ in God in this spiritual communion. I live and move and have my being in this inner communion with God. I walk about on the earth. I am in the earth, in the world, but not of it, because I am living my hidden life in this inner communion. I am not visible to the people of earth. They behold only my body. But I remain hid with Christ in God in this inner communion. And the more I realize that I, in the midst of me, is centered in God, the less do the people of the world even know of my existence. They pass me right by on the street and do not know me. For to them I am but just another body. But my spiritual brethren and my spiritual sisters all know me, recognize me, love me, as I love them, for it is God's love flowing through all of us, in each other, through each other. It was promised aforetime, come up to this high mountain and look about in all directions, and all of the land that your eyes can see, I give to you. Now this was never said to a human being. It was never meant to be understood as being the truth about human beings. This was the promise of God to his beloved Son, which I am, which thou art, as long as you maintain yourself in this inner communion, in this I-ness, in this withinness, in this oneness, in this livingness, in the inner spirit. My body walks about the earth, but I live in God. I live in an inner communion within myself, ever realizing that I and my Father are one, and that I and my spiritual brothers and my spiritual sisters are one. And these may be human brothers and sisters. They may be animal brothers and sisters. They may be vegetable or mineral brothers and sisters. Because all of this universe, as far as my eyes can see from the highest mountain, has been given unto me. Son, all that I am thou art. All that I have is thine. This land give I unto thee. This whole universe is given unto the spiritual children of God, and we are heirs, joint heirs to all of the heavenly riches. In our I-ness, in the degree that I live and move and have my being in this inner communion with my source, always remembering that I am I. What the world sees is a body. Even what I see when I look in a mirror is just a body. But this is not me. I live and move and have my being in this meditation. I live and have my being in this inner communion with my Father, in spirit, with the Spirit. I live in an inner communion with the sons and daughters of God, for we are one family, one household. We are drawn together from the uttermost parts of the earth that we may unite in a conscious union with our Father. And even now, our spiritual brothers and sisters at the opposite ends of the globe and all of the points in between are united with us right here in this spirit, in this consciousness. For where I am, they are. And where they are, I am. We are united in consciousness. And all that the Father hath is mine and theirs. For we are heirs, joint heirs, to all the heavenly riches. As long as I live in this inner communion with my Father and permit myself to be spiritually fed, spiritually satisfied, spiritually wisdomed, then I can move about in the world, experience any experience as a sufferer to be so now, but always realize I have left the world. My kingdom, the Christ kingdom, is not of this world. And you, students of the infinite way, must prepare yourselves to leave this world. And that does not mean to go anyplace. It does not mean to separate yourselves from your families or your homelands. It means to separate yourself from the laws of good and evil that operate in the world of mankind. Unite yourself with the spiritual laws of God that are always available to you within yourself, that you may live by grace, not by the law. You will be saddened at times as the Master was. O Jerusalem, I would take you with me into this glorious kingdom. And so you will say inwardly to members of your family, your friends, your countrymen, oh, how I would love to take you into this inner kingdom with me, to be refreshed within, to be reborn within, to come to the realization that ye need not fight. The battle is not yours. Ye need not take thought for your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, or wherewithal ye shall be clothed. I have meat. Ye have, if you will come within and recognize the source within. I have a hidden manna, a divine grace. It is yours if you can open your consciousness and learn to come within and dwell with me within. Be at peace with me. Let me dwell in you. Let my word dwell in you. How can you do this except in silence? In silent communion. Come apart from the world. Even while performing your tasks in the world, consciously withdraw within and realize that you really live at the center of your being. And it is there at the center of your being that you are receiving the meat, the wine, the bread, the water, the divine grace of heaven. You are not earning your living by your work. You are being spiritually maintained at the center of your being. But you must abide there. You must abide in me. You must abide within. You must remember. You must never forget. I. Oh, when you feel that word I at the center of your being and find that right there at the center of your being, that I is one with the I that I am, which is God. It is all one I. The great I coming to individual focus at the center of your being. And that I, which is God, at the center of your being, is your grace, is your hidden manna. That word I becomes, oh, it is a secret word. It is a sacred word. It must be used very sparingly on the lips. Because the I that comes through the lips really means a human identity that is full of good and sometimes full of evil. And it isn't that I. The I that I speak of is the I that I secretly and sacredly hold at the center of my being. It is the I which is the very offspring of God, never born, never dying. It has come into this earthly scene for some purpose of God's. The human world has not known this, and it thought that it was just born into 80 years and 10 of more or less striving and struggling for survival. This is only because the original function of life was lost to memory, forgotten. But now, as you come to conscious remembrance of the I at the center of your being, that I which I really am, you will know that the Master said, call no man on earth your father, so that you may come back to conscious remembrance that the Father sent you into expression to fulfill some purpose of the Father. Even humanly, when parents have children, they really have something in mind that they believe or hope that their child is going to fulfill. It doesn't always happen, but at least they have that dream. But the reason they do is that this is the truth about the original purpose of our birth. The Father, in sending himself into expression as our individual form, had for us a purpose. What that purpose is will only be revealed to you as you return to the contemplative life, the life of inner contemplation, the life of inner communion. When you are again on such terms with your Father that you can commune at will, and the Father again can reveal his purpose in you, which will not be before you are capable of fulfilling it. Do not expect that in some meditation God will reveal your purpose on earth to you while you are still in the position where you will say, well, what can I do about it? I have to work for a living, or I have a family. Live your life of inner communion, knowing that the day must come when the Father reveal his plan to you, his plan for you. And in that moment, the capacity to fulfill it will be instantly available. The rosebud does not open to become a rose until it has the capacity to be a rose. It does not even receive the impulse to be a rose until it has the capacity to be a rose. And as the capacity matures, so does the bud open to fulfill itself as a rose. As our inner communion establishes within us a capacity to be the son and daughter of God, so does the divine plan reveal itself, and our opening begins. The Master says, if I go not away, the Comforter will not come to you. Is it not clear that as long as you have a teacher, a practitioner who is a mediator, that you are not going to receive the full fruitage of the Christ revelation? Do you not see that as long as your faith, hope, confidence is external to yourself, even if you are placing your faith in a God, you're going to miss the way. Until you have released even God, the Comforter cannot come to you. As long as you have hope or reliance in a visible man, a visible book, even a thought, the Comforter, the divine wisdom cannot come to you. It is only when you can meditate as we are meditating today, completely separate from each other, completely separate from reliance on each other, and returning to that I and my Father within. Retiring into an inner wisdom, an inner stillness, an inner peace, an inner quiet, an inner confidence, an inner realization of an I, deep down within me, I, this is my meat. I am the bread. I am the meat. I am the water. I am the wine. This I, this blessed I, which is the Son of God within me. This I is my hidden manna. Then the Comforter springs forth from within me. Teaches me, comforts me, heals me, reveals the allness of being. Then only can I adequately know how grateful I am to every spiritual master of all ages. For not one true spiritual master has ever bound us to his human identity, to his human selfhood, or to his human organization. Not one. Every spiritual master has shared the wisdom of the Father and set us free. The disciples were in fear that their master would leave them. Therefore, he said, if I go not away. And he spoke of the same I. Well, actually, the experience happened before. The experience happened back in the days of Moses. You see, Moses led the children of Israel to the promised land. For some reason, Scripture has falsely misinterpreted the event that took place there. And they feel that Moses was not capable of leading the Hebrews into the promised land. But you see, the falseness of this is revealed in the fact that it is said of Moses that he did not die, he was translated. Therefore, there could have been no fault in Moses. The real secret is this: no master can take you into the promised land, only up to the promised land. And then you must enter by the I, the recognition of your own identity You can only enter the promised land on the recognition of your Christhood. It is a wonderful thing on your journey to recognize the Christhood of Moses or of Jesus. It is wonderful if you have recognized the Christhood of my identity, of my being. But you will only enter the promised land when you recognize the Christhood of your being. When you realize, I in the midst of me am the Son of God. I in the midst of me am one with the Father. And all that the Father is, I am. And all that the Father hath is mine. When you realize this, you will enter the promised land. It will not be that your teacher deserted you. It will not be that your teacher wasn't worthy to enter with you. It is only that your teacher entered before you. And you must be left at the entrance to the promised land until you yourself grasp the principle, realize the truth. I and my Father are one. The Christhood manifested by Moses, Elijah, Elisha, Isaiah, Jesus, John, Paul, that sonship is mine. Because sonship is a universal relationship. No human is the Son of God, and you never would become the Son of God in your humanhood. But when you retire within yourself and learn to live in communion with the I that is within you, you will then leave your humanhood outside, and you will tabernacle with your own Christhood and with the Christhood of all who have been before you, because you will then find yourself at one with the Christ of every individual who has been, who is now, and who will be. Others will still see your body and think of you merely as a human being, the unenlightened. But the enlightened will always recognize you. The enlightened will always know who you are. The enlightened will always be in your company, and you in theirs. You will draw unto yourself the spiritually illumined of the world. You will become separate and apart from man whose breath is in his nostril, and yet remain in the world where your influence is necessary. Not necessarily the spoken word, but the hidden word that is in the midst of you. I would bring to you the word of spiritual fellowship. Of course, you will learn through the two great passages in Matthew 25 well, now I don't know if it's Matthew 25 or Matthew 31. The two great passages of, inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these my brethren, I think it is Matthew 25, you have done it unto me. Or, inasmuch as ye have not done it unto the least of these my brethren, ye have not done it unto me. In these passages you will learn that you have a relationship with all people of the earth, regardless of their religious or non-religious convictions. And that is that insofar as it is possible to help meet their need at their level of life, that is, that it is expected of you that you will support your local charities. It is expected of you that you will support those citywide or nationwide benevolences that help those who are needy. It is expected of you that in any way in which you find it possible that you extend a helping hand to others on their level of consciousness, even as the man on the road to Jericho ministered unto the sick one. But beyond this, there is a spiritual fellowship with those who are of the household of God. And this is quite different. This is the product of an experience that you have when you meet those who are of the household of God, when you recognize your oneness with them, your common interest. You feel a spiritual bond, and something drops away from your relationship with them, something that is human. In fact, all that is human drops away. And you have the feeling of kinship with them, and yet nothing that seems to partake of human feelings or emotions. You will notice this for yourself. When you are in the company of those who have received some spiritual light, and you notice that they do not indulge the ordinary conversation, condemnation, criticism, judgment, or that there is a greater expression of patience, sharing, joy, you will notice that there is something about a spiritual relationship that differs from any human relationship. And it is because of this that the moment the humanness drops out of our relationship with each other, we begin feeding each other spiritually. This is what the Master referred to. Could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Could ye not watch with me 1 hour? No. They had to indulge humanness. Probably they were indulging self-pity because he was to leave them. Perhaps they were even feeling sorry for him, which is a horrible thing to do to another spiritual person, to feel sorry for them or pity them. Because you're not helping to bear their burden, you're adding to it. What you give unto each other is not pity, is not sorrow, is not grief, is not even the very human thought of, oh, how I'll miss you. This adds to our burdens. Can you not watch with me 1 hour and be spiritual and realize that God constitutes my life and being, and I am not going anyplace? No weapon that is formed against the Son of God shall prosper. What are you grieving about? What are you sorrowing for? What are you wearying about? Because you have let yourself become human. You have allowed yourself to indulge a human love. Whereas all I want of you is an awareness of my spiritual identity, that I may in turn be aware of your spiritual identity. Can I help you spiritually while I pity you? Or while I feel sad at leaving you, or you're leaving me? This is an indulgence of human sense. I and my Father are one. And I and your spiritual identity is one. And we are never going to be separate or apart from each other.